Hi, and welcome to the degree information session for the Bachelor of Philosophy, Politics and Economics. I'm Anthony Eagle, I'm the program coordinator. You can see my email there. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me if you need to. Today I'm going to just say a few things about the degree, the structure of the first year, give you a few pointers to some resources that might be useful when you're getting started, and say a little bit about why this degree exists and what we're trying to get out of it, what we're trying to achieve. Before I move on to that, I want to pay my respects to the Kaurna people, traditional custodians of the land on which the University of Adelaide is situated. I acknowledge deep feelings of attachment and relationship of Kaurna people to country, and respect and value past, present, and ongoing connection to the land and cultural beliefs. Kaurna Yata, Kaurna Mirna, Nai Tampinti. So key academic teaching staff, there's me as the program coordinator. I have kind of designed this degree. I'm the person you'll come to when you've got any questions about the program structure, or when you've got any sort of tricky administrative tasks where you want to deviate from the standard program structure. I'm the person to come to about that, along with the faculty staff. The program itself is delivered by teaching and research staff in philosophy, politics, and economics primarily. And so I've listed there some links where you can get a bit more information about the teaching and research interests of staff in these departments. The degree is unique in a number of ways. We're the only program of its kind in South Australia. There are a few others in Australia and around the world, but it's by no means a widespread degree. It's a concentrated degree. It's the only way really you can get an in-depth training in all three of these subjects and be done in 3 years. You could obviously take much longer and study multiple degrees and so on to get some knowledge in philosophy, politics, and economics. But this is the only way to get a sort of intense amount of in-depth disciplinary knowledge in all three subjects, plus also some integrative subjects which are not accessible to anyone who doesn't take this program. In particular, the program capstone that comes in the third year really unites all three of the constituent disciplines, thinking about values and modeling and public policy in a way that's informed by the components of the degree. Most importantly, probably, is that you've got a cohort of like-minded students. You're going to learn a lot from your peers who have similar interests, who are studying this degree, maybe for similar reasons as you, and you're really going to get a lot out of them. And we hope to run some cohort building events through the course of the program to try and help you build those connections with your peers that are going to be so important. There's a little bit of an excerpt from the study plan. Hopefully you've seen that or something like it already. That just lists the courses that you need to choose from in the first year. You can see your study plan at that link. I will say a little bit just about why we've chosen these courses. So I think the first year of the program is about orienting yourself, obviously at university, and starting to build a cross-disciplinary intellectual toolkit for dealing with the kind of complex problems that PPE equips you to deal with. So in philosophy, you'll study the structure of logical argument. This isn't specific to PPE, but it's a tool that you can use in lots of different contexts. And the foundations of moral and ethical reasoning, something a bit more distinctively philosophical. In politics, you look at the basic structure of Australian and international political institutions, again, not something specific to PPE. But with an eye on the creation of public policy, which is probably a bit more in the wheelhouse of this program. In economics, you'll be building mathematical tools for working with economic models, understanding them and using them, as well as with economic data. And you'll get a general introduction to how to approach problems thinking economically, thinking like an economist. You'll also take a broadening core competency course from quite a long list of subjects. And those subjects might align with your interests in PPE, or it might just be something you want to do that's a bit further afield, intellectually speaking. You're just in starting the first year, so it's probably, don't need to think too much about later on in the degree. But in the second year, you will continue to study all three areas, deepening your subject-specific knowledge. You'll take an elective to add a bit of breadth. Again, that might align with your interest in PPE or be from further afield. And you'll choose a major. So you'll choose one of the three areas, philosophy, politics, and economics, to concentrate on more fully than the others. And in the third year, you take the PPE program capstone, which will bring together all three subjects in the most explicit way. There'll be connections that you'll definitely see through the first couple of years. This one is really about being extremely explicit about drawing them together. And as well as that, you'll finish your major and you'll also take an internship. You'll start to think about applying your knowledge in a more practical and work-oriented way. What about afterwards? Again, it's probably too early, but never too late to think about what to do afterwards. So the idea of the degree is that PPE graduates are going to be flexible, critical thinkers. We're not training you for any narrowly defined or circumscribed job, right? It's not a vocational degree. It's not a TAFE. We are trying to train you for life, a life in which you might have many careers and do many different things. Our graduates have great flexibility and versatility in shaping their careers and pursuing intellectually and morally stimulating work across many different fields. So you might be formulating policy and advice to government. You might be serving in government. You might lead implementation through the public service. You might provide research and analysis to business and the community, either in the private sector or in an NGO, or you might create new knowledge through further academic work. The options are pretty limitless. You'll have all sorts of skills from the program, and in some ways the main task is marketing them and yourself, and we've got some ideas about how to do that too. Your fellow PPE students, as I've already mentioned, are going to be one of your strongest supports through the degree, so you should get to know them as soon as you can. You won't have any subject in your first year just restricted to them, but there will be PPE students scattered through all of the classes that you take in your first year. So my advice is, in tutorials and workshops and small group teaching, reach out to the other PPE students, befriend them. You'll be seeing a lot of them over the next few years. We'll also run some cohort building events later in the year, once we know what the form of in-person events is going to look like. There are also some student clubs for the constituent disciplines, so the Economics Club, Philosophy Club, Politics and International Relations Club. Their contact details are there, and that's another good way of meeting like-minded students. So in the immediate short term, the next thing to do is get on top of your enrollment, take a look at My Uni and your student ID card and so on, and look at other orientation day events. So that's next steps after this. Here's a few student support resources that I'll just run through very quickly. Some tips about enjoying your studies, about being enthusiastic in your learning, and learning because you want to, not because you have to pass exams. This is the kind of attitude that I expect you all already have, but it really will make slogging through some of the more challenging aspects of whichever bits of the degree you find challenging will be a lot easier if you've got your eye on the intellectual rewards of it, rather than just thinking about passing exams and so on. My Uni is more and more central to the student experience, so make sure you can access all the courses that you're enrolled in, and make sure you know who the course coordinators are and that you know their contact details. So very important. So log into My Uni. If you can't get access to it, contact My Uni support. Your academic staff aren't able to help with those kinds of things, even if they had the skills to do so. University is an adult learning environment. So this is just, you're now responsible for your own learning. Your course coordinators may send follow-up emails and chase you up about things if things slip or slide. But there's no guarantee that they will, and things can go off the rails. So try and be responsible. If things are challenging and you are having difficulties, reach out for help as soon as possible. My number one tip. Things never get better if you just wait and see. It may be that you reach out for help and then you don't need it, fine. But it never has worked out that a student has not reached out for help and then a week later it turns out they really need it, and well, then everything's just more complicated. Important university dates. This is just about fees and enrollment dates. thing to look at probably is census date. That's when you get to finalize your enrollment. If you're enrolled in a course on census date, then you're on the hook for it financially. So keep an eye on that. Here's some additional study support. I recommend all of these. The Writing Center is really good if you haven't written a lot of essays in your time. The Maths Learning Center, really helpful, particularly for those of you who might be coming into this degree with a bit weaker mathematics background. You'll find economics is going to require a lot of maths. Maths Learning Center is really great for helping with that. And Ask Adelaide, first point of contact for kind of administrative details, and they can also point you in all sorts of other directions. Well, that's it. Welcome to the university. Welcome to the Bachelor of Philosophy, Politics and Economics. I'm glad that you're with us. I look forward to interacting with you and teaching you over the next few years. Thanks for your attention.